Welcome back to Win Biology. In Biochemistry Part 2, you'll learn about the different types of macromolecules and how they help your body achieve its function. Now before we get there, you have to understand a little bit about carbon-based molecules. The thing about carbon is that it's very unique in how it can form 4 different bonds with different atoms and elements, including itself. As a result, carbon can make many different types of molecules with various structures. For example, you can have straight-chain carbon-based molecules, which are found in lipids and oils. Those things are important in cell membranes. You can also have branched-chain structures, which are found in amino acids. Amino acids are responsible for making proteins. And last but not least, you can also have ring structures, which are found in sugars and carbohydrates. Many carbon-based molecules are made of small subunits bonded together. These subunits are known as monomers and polymers. The Greek root mono means singular or one. So when a bunch of monomers link up and bond together, they make polymers. The Greek root poly means many. So many carbon-based molecules are simply long chains of polymers repeating over and over. There are 4 different types of macromolecules. You have proteins, which are found in animal products, and proteins help the cell carry out important functions, such as growing and developing. Next, you have carbohydrates, which include simple sugars and starches, and these provide energy for the cells. Furthermore, you have lipids, which might include fats and oils, and these are found in the cell membrane, and the cell membrane allows things to go in and out of the cell so the cells can get nutrients or remove waste from itself. Last but not least, you have nucleic acids, which are found in DNA, and DNA is responsible for allowing the cell to replicate and make copies of itself. Let's talk about each of these macromolecules in depth, starting with carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are made of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. You can find them as monosaccharides, which are really simple sugars, such as glucose, fructose, and galactose. These simple sugars can link up and form long repeating chains, known as polysaccharides. There are 3 types of polysaccharides. You have cellulose, which is found in plant cell walls. You also have starch, which is how plants store long repeating chains of glucose. And finally, you have glycogen, which is found in animal liver and muscle cells. This is how they store glucose for quick energy release. So as you can see, carbohydrates are stored as polysaccharides, long repeating chains, and when they're needed for energy, they're quickly broken down into simple sugars that the cells can readily use. Carbohydrates are also found in the cell membrane, where they're important in things like cell signaling and sending messages between cells. Lipids are nonpolar molecules that include fats, oils, waxes, and steroids. They're made of long repeating carbon chains called fatty acids, which are connected to a big molecule called glycerol. Lipids have several different functions. 1 is that they can provide a source of energy. 2, lipids are found in the cell membrane. The cell membrane acts as like a barrier that allows nutrients to come in and waste products to leave the cell. And 3rd, lipids produce hormones, which are important in regulating growth and making sure that your body can function normally. Proteins are responsible for human growth and development. They're responsible for many chemical reactions that occur in the body. Proteins are actually long polymer chains of something called amino acids. There are 20 different types of amino acids, 12 which are found and produced naturally in the body. The other 8 have to come from your diet. There are so many different types of proteins, but I'll give you 3 different examples. The first is amylase, which is found in your saliva, and amylase helps break down carbohydrates into simple sugars so that you can easily digest it. The next is pepsin, which is found in your stomach acid, and pepsin helps break down proteins for digestion. And the last example would be hemoglobin, which is found in your blood cells, and hemoglobin helps your blood cells bind oxygen, and oxygen is vital for all of your body's functions. Remember, proteins are just long repeating chains of something called amino acids. These amino acids all interact to give proteins their shape. However, if you have one wrong amino acid or a mutation anywhere, this might change the shape of your protein overall, and we see this occur in something called sickle cell anemia, which means hemoglobin, which is the protein that we just discussed, gets an altered shape, and when that happens, it causes the blood cell to form a sickle cell shape, and this sickle cell can't really travel through the blood vessels quite efficiently, so it causes fatigue. Proteins are sensitive to pH and temperature. Normally, the amino acid chains are folded in a specific shape, and this shape provides the protein with its function. However, if it gets too hot or too cold, or the pH changes too drastically, the protein gets denatured. It loses its shape, and when it loses its shape, it loses its function. The last macromolecule we want to discuss is the nucleic acid. Nucleic acids are just made from long repeating chains of monomers called nucleotides. Nucleotides have a basic structure of a phosphate group, a sugar group, and a nitrogen-based molecule. Nucleic acids provide the structure for DNA, and DNA carries genetic information. I think I'll stop here and I'll call this Biochemistry Part 2. But before I take off, I'll provide you with a summary of what we just learned. So we learned that carbon is really unique in that it can make 4 covalent bonds with different atoms and elements, including itself. Because it could do this, it can make long repeating chains of molecules, and this is found in the macromolecules that we also discussed. There are 4 macromolecules, and this includes proteins, lipids, carbohydrates, and nucleic acids, and they all have different forms and functions, such as providing energy and structure to the cell. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on Win Biology.